Are the opposition parties in India doing justice to themselves or to the country or to the responsibilities comprehended in the idea of being or serving as the opposition in a democratic polity? Swagatam, welcome. For days now, the parliamentary proceedings have been obstructed, brought to a halt by the opposition parties. Presumably, they have very strong reasons for doing so. From their point of view, they feel that the Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, owes an explanation to the Parliament, to the parliamentarians, to the opposition parties, as to why extreme brutalities, including the use of lethal weapons against peaceful protesters, mostly comprising students and the youngsters of India, was used. If that was used, was it done under his sanction, etc.? And I cannot disagree with that idea. They also feel that the issue of theft in Ram Temple is a big issue, and that the government needs to be cornered on that count as well. That's what they think. But I have a very different take on this situation, and that's what I propose to share with you. Let me begin by stating the obvious. The Parliament is an extremely important pillar of Indian democracy. And the Parliament needs to function. I'm not saying that it's only the duty of the opposition to create conditions conducive to the proper functioning of the Parliament. The Treasury benches also have a very, very sacred responsibility in ensuring that the Parliament proceeds and that the business of the Parliament is transacted to the good of the country. But unfortunately, both sides, the ruling dispensation and the opposition parties, seem not to be interested in this. And that is a very sad state indeed. In this video, I don't propose to say anything about the ruling parties, the ruling coalition, the NDA. My focus will be entirely on the opposition, because I believe that in a democracy, the function and responsibilities of the opposition are far more crucial for the welfare of the people than that of the government. This might seem a contradiction, but I believe in that contradiction. Now, the opposition has a duty to oppose. About that, there can be no doubt. But the opposition needs to understand that there is a difference between opposing and obstructing. And this is precisely where the confusion lies. The opposition parties as of today are not opposing the government. They are merely obstructing the proceedings of the Parliament. And that, in my view, is not a mature thing to do. But they can always hide behind the alibi that the BJP and the NDA coalition partners, when they were in the opposition, did exactly the same thing. This is a classic case of whataboutery. You did it, therefore we also will do it. You said that it's the duty of the opposition to bring the government to its knees, mainly by obstructing the Parliament, therefore we also do it. Arun Jaitley said this, Sushma Swaraj said that. All that's true. They had this opinion, they had this idea, and the BJP perfected the art of bringing the proceedings of the Parliament to a standstill as and when they pleased. And now perhaps the old story or their track record is coming back to haunt them. But again, I don't attach any value to this. If you are partisan, you can make much out of it. I don't wish to be partisan. I'm committed not to a particular party or a coalition of parties. I'm committed to India, the welfare of the people, and the health of the Indian democracy. And therefore, my thinking, my line of approach will always be in that fashion. Though when I say things that are inconvenient to BJP and the Sangh Parivar, the designated watchdogs of the Parivar jump at me and shower their abuses on me and threaten, menace, etc., which is their duty. They are carrying out the roles assigned to them. I have no complaint about them either. Now, let's take the example of the slogan, Amit Shah Jawab Do. Amit Shah Jawab Do. Obviously, there's a reference to the brutalities inflicted on the youth and the students. Now, the point is this. If Amit Shah owes an explanation to the country, and in my opinion, he does, there are many questions that need to be answered, and questions can be answered only by the Home Ministry and as a person in charge, Amit Shah, the Home Minister, and he cannot run away from his responsibilities. About that, I have no doubt. But I have serious reservations about the UPA coalition partners resorting to this particular method of extracting answers from the Home Minister. Now, let's look at the situation in a factual manner. The provocation is, as I have now already said 3 times, which I don't want to repeat, that the way the Delhi police, the CRPF, the Rapid Action Force, etc., dealt with the situation is certainly worthy of protest. But then, the opposition parties, in my opinion, lack credibility in this professed concern for and commitment to the youth of India. I have to say this because if their commitment to the youth of India were all that genuine, they would have, particularly after the 20th of the last month when brutalities were unleashed, they would have actually joined the protesters at Jantar Mantar. They would have braved the ire of the Home Ministry and the might of the Indian state. They would have risked their limbs, their welfare, their security, as these young people have. Please notice that the vitality of the protest movement picked up momentum after the 20th, which means that the cockroach protest movement, the youth of India, they were not intimidated by the muscle of the state. They were not dispirited and scared by the brutalities inflicted on them. They were even more charged up. That is the proof that somebody is really genuine and sincerely, earnestly committed to a cause. If your commitment to a cause is not deep and profound, you will run away from the scene the moment you feel that there is some risk attached to continuing there. The sterling, absolutely convincing, clinching proof that the cockroach Janata Party movement was 100% sincere, and the youth of India attached their hearts and minds to the movement, is the fact that rather than the young people being scattered hither and thither or being driven away from the site with the tempest of fear, the protest movement picked up momentum. And the government had to take note of it. They had to give in, which they did. So, please forgive me. So, if the Cockroach Janata Party won the fight or achieved the goals they proposed, it's because of the earnestness of purpose and the strength of commitment. And as a third person watching all this, I feel and I'm sorry to have to say this, I feel that the opposition parties are manifestly lacking in this. Now, let me explain the difference between the opposition approach and the Cockroach Janata Party approach. The opposition parties are looking at issues and situations in terms of what political gain they can reap out of it. They're not taking up issues in order to safeguard the welfare of the people, to protect the fundamental rights of the people, or to have the issues facing the people resolved in a just and proper manner. They take up issues in a political manner alone, which actually means that their eyes are always on the electoral gains they can gain out of any such effort. Whereas the young people who came together at Jantar Mantar on a very important issue which touches the life of the youth of India, they have no such ulterior intentions. Their stand is just. Their commitment is sincere. Their will to prevail is absolutely safe and secure. This is the strength of the Cockroach Janata Party movement. And this must be the soul of the opposition. The opposition must understand its role and its approach in an entirely different manner from what it is at the moment. For what I can see, and from the perspective of the common man, everything that the opposition parties are doing are done in order to gain some benefit for themselves. I'm not saying that a political party should be blind to its own advantages. But there is a difference between taking up a political issue or adopting a political stance primarily to turn that into electoral benefit for the party concerned or the coalition concerned, on the one hand, and political or electoral gains being gathered as a byproduct of the opposition party's commitment to the welfare of the people. This distinction is unfortunately lost on the opposition parties. And that is because they don't understand the concept of opposition. They confuse it with mere obstruction. Obstruction is not the function, it's not the democratic function of the opposition parties. It's a stance of immaturity, irresponsibility. And the more the opposition parties continue with this, the more they will discredit themselves. I am quite shocked that this possibility is lost on them. When people look at them in terms of the chronic disruption of parliamentary proceedings at which they seem to be so committed, they will only think of the opposition parties as public nuisance. The matter is so serious. They need to open their eyes and see the reality about themselves. They cannot ride on the back of the Cockroach Janata Party. After all, this idea that the Home Ministry unleashed brutalities has come in the wake of the tremendous success achieved by the Cockroach Janata Party. So the India Alliance is picking up the remnants left by the Cockroach Janata Party. It's something very, very embarrassing. Why couldn't they set the agenda? The agenda was set by a handful of young men whose sincerity of purpose, whose heroic pursuit of a particular goal which touches the lives of the young people throughout the country, fired the imagination of the entire nation, and then come the so-called opposition parties in order to write piggyback. This is very embarrassing. This is cheap. I repeat, this is cheap. They should have taken up this issue 2 years ago. The matter was repeated. Now, Rahul Gandhi says that in the last 12 years, there have been 152 paper leaks. Therefore, the question will naturally arise, what were you doing all the while? Yes, of course, you can say that Rahul Gandhi launched a movement against paper leaks some 3 months ago, but nobody felt the heat or warmth of it. Well, God had a vague idea that it was happening here, there, somewhere. What was it about? Why is it that the youth of India did not attach their heart to that movement, though the issue concerned them maximally? That is because people all over the country think that the opposition parties think and act only for themselves, and therefore people will not be inspired when they come to the public space with certain claims and agendas, even if those claims and agendas are so important and very and directly impinging on the welfare of the people. For example, the E20 petrol issue. Now, it is something that it pinches every Indian. But when Aam Aadmi Party sponsors a strike on this count, it remains a very isolated, lackluster, lifeless enterprise. The rest of the country is not responding. There is an issue that concerns everybody. That is because politicians and political parties have ruined and discredited themselves. They have ruined their credibility. And people think of them only in terms of vested interests. And this encourages the government no end. And therefore, when opposition parties do all this drama, public political drama, Modi and Shah will not take them seriously, and rightly so, rightly so. They have to mind their own credibility. If they don't, who else will? For example, we have watched the track record of the India Alliance, actually Indy Alliance. Have they presented to us a credible front of unity and ideological coherence? Not at all. If there are 10 leaders, they'll pull in 11 directions. Look at the miserable plight of Mamata Banerjee. I feel sorry for her. But in a sense, this misery is partly self-inflicted. If she had worked towards strengthening India Alliance movement, her plight would have been different. So the tragedy really is that in spite of repeated setbacks, the so-called opposition parties refuse to learn from their bitter experience, and that is terrible. It's heartbreaking for those whose concern for the health and future of Indian democracy is foremost. Now take the second issue, and I'll be brief about it. Is theft in Ram Mandir a common man's issue? I'm afraid not. It's a very feeble issue. I would say it's a peripheral issue, because who doesn't know in India, irrespective of which religion you practice, who doesn't know that if there is religion, there will be corruption? Have you ever heard of corruption-free religion? Religion itself is corruption. Religion is the corruption of spirituality. Please read Max Weber's classic work, Sociology of Religion, where it says that every religion begins as a tremendous ferment of the spirit which generates noble ideas and expresses the light of the soul, which generates all sorts of wonderful insights of eternal relevance. But in the wake of that, a religious community is formed, and suddenly there is the emergence of the priestly class, or those who manage the affairs of the community, and they develop their own vested interests, and they hijack everything about the original spiritual vision. And therefore, from Max Weber's point of view, Max Weber, together with Emil Durkheim, are the two foremost sociologists on religion that you can possibly read. And I fully agree with Max Weber's point of view that religion is itself the product of a corruption, the corruption of the original spiritual vision. And therefore, I naturally expect corruption, and corruption alone, in religion. Now, in the Christian tradition, for example, in the Gospels, there is a wonderful and inspiring story of Jesus cleansing the temple of Jerusalem, which is the supreme center of Jewish religious fervor. It didn't take long for the temple of Jerusalem to become a market of extortion and the citadel of mammon. And therefore, you must expect corruption in religion. And if the opposition parties don't know this, we know it. The ordinary people in this country know. We expect corruption. We expect theft, whether it's gold or money or whatever. We will be very surprised if there is no theft, no corruption, no cheating, no unethical activities associated with a place of worship. No God sits in a place of worship. A place of worship is a place of make-believe where certain individuals, very mediocre individuals, many of them dullards, assume garbs of piety, holiness, etc. because they have no conscience, they're not honest with themselves, and they pretend to be mediators between God and human beings, and we don't need such middlemen and mediators, but they thrust themselves on us, and all the time their eyes are on our pocket, and we are foolish enough to part with our hard-earned money, which accumulates in places of worship. It doesn't matter which religion. I can say this confidently about Christianity. If there is a possibility to steal 10 rupees, it will be stolen, no question about it. People want to become bishops because the opportunity to practice corruption is maximum as compared to an ordinary priest. And an ordinary priest is at a handicap as compared to a bishop. That's the reason why every priest wants to be a bishop, not because being a bishop enables them to serve God better. It enables them to maximize their illicit profit, illicit gains. This is everybody in this world expects it. So when the opposition parties strike the public space as though some theft in Ram Mandir is a big issue, I laugh at it. It's not at all an issue. It's a non-issue. And if the opposition parties think they would be seen as justified in holding the Parliament of India to ransom on this question of theft of theft in Ram temple, they're seriously, fatally mistaken. It's a non-issue. So please come to your senses. This is not at all an issue. Yes, corruption in conducting examination is an issue. Unemployment is an issue. The undermining of the fundamental rights of citizens is an issue. But then why don't you take up any one of these issues and do what the Cockroach Janata Party has done, strike the public space and don't vacate the seat till a solution is found, which is what they have done. That is how you create the foundation of your credibility. And I have to say this again, you lack credibility. You lack credibility. You lack credibility in a very, very pathetic manner. Better mind your credibility. So please stop this nonsense. This is not what you should be doing. Parliament must function. And if you don't have the gumption, the strength of character, the determination, the unity in your ranks to face the party in power or the coalition in power through a parliamentary debate, then it's a sad day for Indians. You want to oppose the government? Do so in the public domain. It's very convenient to stand in the parliament precincts and shout slogans. It's very easy to bring the parliamentary proceedings to a halt. It doesn't cost you anything. In comparison, just think of the youth of India, the sacrifices they made, the struggle they put up, the enormous effort that they were willing to undertake, thousands of coming them from far and near, many of them not even having proper food to eat, nowhere to sleep. And that's a kind of example that inspires us, not the sort of gimmick that you're playing. Stop this nonsense. Become proper opposition parties. Understand the concept of democratic opposition. You're far, far away from it. Mend your ways before it is too late. Jai Hind.